Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am excited yet again with another amazing professional speaker, fellow career person. I am just so happy she is here. We're going to talk to Felicia Meadows, who's going to be here on the podcast today talking about her educational background and what she does for the community. So stay tuned, listen in, take some notes, connect with her and everybody else who is on this platform, because in 2018, this is the platform to be on. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWOC is to not only share our industry information, but we're also encouraging you, the working professional, college students, to enter their line of work. So make sure you take a moment and visit all of the pages that we have listed on the webpage, and also take a moment to listen to all the podcasts that we have going on, because there's a lot of great information that you can't get anywhere else. One of the things we want to do before we get started is to thank our corporate sponsors, which are Cat Serrano LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliate sponsors and everyone who is participating in this platform to make it a success. So again, today I am excited because we have on our podcast today Miss Felicia Meadows, who works as a professional school counselor and is the founder and CEO of Tomorrow's Future College and Career Readiness Services. Felicia has worked in this field of education for more than 20 years, and she has experience at every level from elementary school to high school. And in addition to being a counselor, she is also a youth coach, and she uses her skills and abilities to efficiently and empower students to create and fulfill their educational and life experiences. Her motto is "Stepping Up Your Life." Felicia also earned her Bachelor's of Science in Psychology degree and a Master's of Education degree in Guidance and Counseling from Bowie State University. She also studied with the Institute of Life Coaching Training and has become a life coach. So welcome to the podcast, Felicia. How you doing?
I'm good, Ann. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. You know what? I just love having fellow educators, particularly in the areas of career and professional development. So tell me who you are and where you're from, and how did you get into career development and education?
Okay, so a little bit of background. When you gave my bio, so my primary profession, of course, is a school counselor. But what I kind of try to steer away from, even though people use the term coach, that term has become so tainted over the last several years. So I kind of try to steer away from the coach piece and go more into youth development. Because what I found as a school counselor, I've been a counselor for, I've been in education over 20 years. I've been a school counselor for 17 of those. I started out in the classroom. And when I was in the classroom, what I realized, I was still working on my master's while I was in the classroom, first year teaching. Before I even got into education, I worked for the federal government, but that's a whole other story. But I knew education was my calling. So I got into education, grew up around a bunch of educators, only been around educators my whole life. Kept saying I wasn't going to go into education. I got into it and loved it. Couldn't imagine doing anything else. So first year in the classroom, I was working on my master's, and I realized the need. The babies, I have first grade, and I am truly a secondary person, meaning 7th through 12th grade, but my first assignment was with the babies. And I had a lot of babies. I was in D.C. I'm from the DMV, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, not Department of Motor Vehicle, like people say, not from the area. Grew up in the D.C. area. And they're like, they say DMV, like Department of Motor Vehicles. No.
Nope.
No, the DMV has the MVA.
That's right. I know.
People, they're like, what, DMV? So yes, that's D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, the metropolitan area.
Right.
I grew up in Maryland. But my first assignment was in D.C., and so my first grade babies, came up with a lot of social ills. And as I was in the classroom, I'm realizing, these babies aren't paying attention to anything that I'm saying right now, because some of them, they haven't eaten the night before, they've been up all night. I had quite a few my babies, their parents, strung out on drugs. And they, it's like, why can't Johnny learn? Because Johnny can't focus on what's happening in the classroom because of all the other things that are happening. So that was one of the other pieces that kind of fueled me going into school counseling. From the time I was young, interestingly enough, I always loved kids. That's just been my thing. I was always a neighborhood babysitter. I was going to watch somebody's kids. So kids are my passion. That was my thing. When I got to high school, ironically, my senior year, I took a psychology class. It was a fluke in my schedule, and my schedule had to be changed to end up in a psych class. So I got into the psychology class, and I was like, oh, this, I'm going to be liking this thing. And so from an early age, I tried to figure out how I could mesh my love for psychology with working with kids, and that's how I really got into the school counseling piece. And that's really what I love. Really, love what I do. I love what I do. And then in working as a school counselor, in education period, I shared the story with people that I, come in contact with and I talk to about getting into not just the career development piece, but helping young people discover who they are. That's really my focus and my forte. There are other pieces, of course, of being a school counselor, but career development is really my piece, my biggest piece. I remember when I was working in D.C., I taught for a year, and then I went to D.C. public schools as a school to careers counselor. And I remember having a conversation with one of my colleagues at the time. She said, we were talking. She said, young people don't dream anymore. And so I thought about it. I said, wow, that's profound, that they really don't dream. When we were growing up, people would always say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Of course, doctor, lawyer, teacher, the staple. But that conversation was being had. And the more I got around young people and started talking to them, they really don't dream. A lot of them have no idea what they want to be when they grow up. And I also found, too, that there are a lot of adults that are still trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up because no one's tapped into what they love and what they want to do. So I bring that passion for the career development piece in making your dreams a reality. What do you dream about? What are your dreams? What are you good at? What do you love to do? What are you passionate about? What do you purpose to do? And how we can turn your passion into purpose and purpose into a lifelong dream. Now, mind you, your dream may not necessarily be lucrative. We know that bottom line is you have to be gainfully employed, and whatever you do has to pay the bills. But if you can't find something full-time that nourishes your dream, do it part-time. But I think we all have to have something we dream about and love what we do every day. So that's kind of the fuel for my focus.
Wow, that's kind of interesting. You mentioned that we don't dream anymore. I sort of have like the same thing. I think for me, I'm like you. I don't want to fall into the coach category because there's so many different levels of coaching.
Yes.
So I kind of look at it from a strategy standpoint, and then, like you said, we don't really dream. And so, from your idea, why do you think people just stop dreaming? Is it just the economy? Is it, I don't know what it is. I mean, what do you think it is why adults stop dreaming? Because I'm thinking that if adults and parents have stopped dreaming, how are they going to teach their kids to dream about stuff? Because when I was growing up, my parents always talked about dreaming of doing something, and so that's how I kind of learned how to dream to do something. But do you think that there's a lot of parents out there that's just stopped dreaming and now their kids just don't know about it?
What is really profound, and you asked that question. I never even thought about it from that perspective. I guess a couple of things. One, I think I put adults and children in two different categories because adults are pretty much, we as adults are pretty much coming to who we are. And most adults have accepted that whatever our lot in life is at this point, it is what it is, and then our dreams don't matter anymore. Because the reality of trying to pursue a dream when you have a car note, a mortgage, kids, job, it seems almost impossible. And so when I talk to adults and they say, one, I found a lot of adults, which I find so, I won't say disheartening, but kind of confusing. A lot of adults still don't know what they're passionate about and what their purpose to do. I think that's the number one thing. They don't know what their purpose is. They don't know it. And when you ask them, like, everybody has a purpose. And to me, it's whatever's in your spirit. You know what it is when you feel it. But a lot of adults don't feel that or have not been able to get in contact with it. So I think they don't know how to tap into that or tap into what their dreams actually are because they don't know what their purpose to do. That's one piece. And the other piece, I think, is just obligations as adults. A lot of us just figure, well, that ship has sailed. I can't do it anyway, so they don't think about it. And in terms of young people, I'm just going to be quite honest. My parents never asked me what I want to be when I grew up. Never had that conversation. Never talked about it. Never discussed it. Trying to think if there was even any adult teacher or otherwise growing up in my life that even asked me that question. I think back to it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because when I was young, I kind of had my own focus. I don't know if that's what it was, but I don't ever recall that conversation being had, to be honest.
Yeah, I can tell you for my generation, when I grew up, there was no teacher that actually said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And these are the options.
Right.
Most of mine came from my family being involved with music and theater and things that was sort of entertaining.
Okay.
So they had mostly an entertaining background. If they weren't a singer, they played an instrument. If they didn't play an instrument, they was on stage trying to do something. And so
Mm-hmm.
that drew me to focus on people in the entertainment industry and then acting and learning about all that stuff. And then that's how I kind of got my awareness saying, hey, I want to dream to do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I think that, as like you said, even just thinking about me being a parent, because you said something really interesting is that we have all these obligations. We're going to work day in and day out and we're paying bills and we get so inundated with the day-to-day hustle and bustle of what we're trying to do that we actually lose sight on finding out what else is out there to do that. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I really love this platform, because my kids did not get that. Even to this day, people don't come back from the field. And I say this all the time. We need to get back into the schools, come back from the real life work and say, hey, did you know that this person is able to do this in this career? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
all about awareness. And I really was like, when you said that we don't dream anymore, that is definitely, to me, certainly that's happening out there. We don't
Mm-hmm.
really dream. I think dream is really just taken so much out of context now, that there is no focus behind dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
The old days when people say they used to dream, it used to be, I'm just going to go for any and everything out there and see what lands.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays is, I just want to dream to be a millionaire so I don't have to do anything.
True.
Millennials, they want it fast. They don't want to figure out what the dream is. They just want to know how to get there and boom, they're there. And I think you're right. We need to learn how to dream again so we can actually like spark that creativity that's within us.
Now, mind you, one of my dreams too is to be a millionaire. That's part of my dream. That's my dream
I think
too.
we all want to be a millionaire.
That's my dream too. But
Yes.
what you said, and it's interesting. We talk about the millennials, and even when I talk to some young people, and of course, because society now is so fast paced and everything is instantaneous. When you talk to them, and a few of them have said, I want to own my own business. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make money. But when I ask them, well, what do you want to do? Because being an entrepreneur means that you have to sell some goods, move some product, do something. What do you want to do? And they look at you like, huh? All they know
Yeah.
is I want to work for myself. But what does that
Right.
mean?
What does
They
that
don't even know what
mean?
that means.
And you know
So if
what?
you're,
That goes right into the next question I was going to say is how important it is for career development. I don't think people really take this serious enough,
mhm,
because it's not, for me, it is not just, okay, I'm just going to help you get a job. It is really more than that. That's why you do what you do and I do what I do. And we're so passionate about it. And it's bigger than somebody saying, oh, let me just help you find your purpose. It is
yes,
really just, going down deep into your core skills and figuring out, is entrepreneurship right for you? Is college right for you? Is going
yes,
into this field is right for you? People need to take career development a lot more serious these days, right?
yep. Especially considering when because I look at stats a lot, adult stats about job satisfaction. When you talk to kids, and you ask them, well, how many of your parents, I always say, show hands, how many of your parents, they get up every day and they talk about they hate their job. It's usually the majority of the people or the kids raise their hands. You should not feel like that every day. Mind you, you don't, no one wants to sit anywhere for 8 or 9 hours and, drudgingly go to work. But if I have to work somewhere, I'm going to love what I do every day. If I have to sit somewhere for 8 hours, I better love it. And the problem is too many of us are going to places that we don't like, doing things we don't love.
Right.
And that's the career development piece that we're talking about, not job readiness, of course, job readiness is fine, learn, how to do a resume and soft skills, which are very, very important. But the bottom line is you should love what you do every day. My quote from Confucius, this is my favorite quote, you love what you do, every day doesn't feel like you're working. You have to love what you do every day. Now, you may not like all the ins and outs of what you do every day, because there are pieces of my job that it's like, okay, why do I have to do this? However, overall, I'm very satisfied in what I'm doing because I like what I do. And most people can't say that.
Yeah, there are a lot of unhappy folks out there. And I just think that a lot of us in our community specifically feel like that, we don't need the education because we're working. We don't need someone to tell us how to get out of a bad situation because they got it. And I'm the first one to tell you that unless you are an open book, you're never going to get the information you need to move forward.
Yep.
It's always going to be that circle. You're going to go to work, you're going to have problems, you're not going to communicate well, and then you're going to come home unhappy. And everybody's not like that. There's tons of people that like what they do.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people that don't like what they do. And this is when career development really comes into play. So let's talk about some of the services that you provide for people who want to have career development services.
So again, my focus is youth, seventh grade to 12th grade, 12 to 18. That's my focus. I have worked with adults before, but really young people is what I do because young people are open books. They're very receptive to what you have to say. They're very open, whereas we as adults, all of us, we're already pretty much shaped and formulated our thought process and who we are and how we do things and what we do. We need to be a little bit more open-minded with that as adults, but that's where we are. So some of the things that I do, I mentioned earlier about being a workshop facilitator. I do workshops for young people on not just career development, but also on character education, college and career readiness, bullying and harassment, goal setting. That's like one of my favorites, using SMART goals. And the SMART goals is like one of my favorite workshops that I do for young people, helping them put together a SMART goal just to look at their dream. There's one thing you can do right now, even as a teenager, that will propel you into your dream as an adult. And when you see the light bulb come on, that's why I just love that goal setting workshop. When you see the light bulb come on, for them it's like, wow, it's something I can do today. Because for a lot of young people, when you say, and I didn't mention too that I work in middle school now, and I've been in middle school for the last 16 years. So when you talk to young people, for them, being an adult is so foreign. When you say, okay, what do you want to be when you get older? And they're like, I don't know, what are you talking about? I haven't given them much thought. And you're talking to a 14-year-old, and you explain to them, do you understand in 4 years you'll be 18? And then they think about it, they're like, oh, 4 years from now. I said, now think back to when you were in kindergarten. That seems like that was forever ago. When you think back, it wasn't that long ago. But that was like 9 to 10 years ago. But now you have 4 years before you're considered a quote-unquote adult. What are you going to do in these next 4 years to prepare you for the adult world? And they're looking like, wow, you're right. Like this thing is really happening. Like this is happening for real.
Yeah, it's really happening.
Yeah, it's really happening. In 4 years, you will be an adult. But believe me, whether you want it to happen or not, that's what's going to happen. And that's not a lot of time. You look up 4 years, snap of your fingers, it's there and gone. Next thing you know, you're 21 and 25 and 30. And what are you doing now as a young person to prepare yourself for that? So my signature workshop, my Dreams to Reality workshop, really hones in on helping them identify their passion and purpose and how they can put those two things together to create whatever dream career you think will fit who you are. So over the years, and I know a lot of times, you were saying earlier that you have a lot of people in your family who are in the entertainment industry. And I see, especially in our community, most of our babies want to be athletes or entertainers. And so that's fine. That's something that's fine. But I don't know any 70-year-old basketball players, and I don't know any 55-year-old rappers. Mind you, Jay-Z might be coming up on that, but he's not going to be doing that when he's 65 and 70, believe you me. He
Right,
has other irons in the fire.
absolutely. You got
He
to
has
have
other
a you
irons in
got
the fire.
That's right. You got to have a backup plan. You got to have
A backup.
a backup plan to your career. You got to figure out what you need to do before you can even get to where you really want to be.
Yes,
And a lot of times we plan, we sort of plan, but like you say, I love the SMART goals too, because that really makes you focus and actually make you sit down and say, I need step A before B and B before
yes,
C, so that you're able to get to where you need to be on a smaller scale, but you're getting there faster. And that's what I like about the SMART goals as well. So
yes.
really, really love that.
And I love seeing the light bulb come on when I do
Hmm.
that workshop because the kids are like, oh, wow, I thought, you know, when I'm 25, I want to be, just an example, I remember last year, I do this for 3 years in a row, I've done summer academy with Hill Harper's organization. And last year, I had the group, last year was just boys, last 2 years was boys only. And last year, one of the young men, he said he wants to be a sports commentator. But he was mapping that out because having their 5-year plan and their 10-year plan and their 20-year plan. And so he said, when he's in 10 years or he'd be 15 and he wants to be a sports commentator. So then I explained to him, when you look at on the TV, what do you think the average age of the sports commentators are on there? And so we had that dialogue, with his peers, and they really were like, wow, yeah, because I need to do some other things before I can reach that, because that is a stepping stone. Like, it's progress. There's steps to this. You don't just come straight out of school and jump into, NBA All-Star Weekend and start commentating. It doesn't work like that. So when you start having these real dialogues and conversations, and they're looking at their dream and like, oh, there are other pieces to this dream that I need to put together, then it all comes full circle for them and starts to make sense. And so that's what I just love seeing the light bulb and being able
Nice.
to explain to them that it's a process. Everything is a process. Even if you want to be a doctor, that's 10, 12 years worth of schooling. Are you willing to put in that type of time? And if you, right now, to be honest, if you're failing science, I don't want you operating on me. If science is not your thing, and you're
Hmm.
like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pediatrician,
Hmm.
and you've been failing science, and that's not your niche, maybe being a certified nursing assistant can work for
Right.
you. Maybe
Okay.
being, something else in the medical field can work for you. You may not be that doctor, but you still have other options. So having those kind of real conversations is what really excites me and fuels me when I talk to young people, because then
Mhm.
when I see that light bulb again, it's like, oh, okay, now that makes sense. It makes sense. And I think the problem too, when we talked before about it, even as adults, I don't think those conversations were being had so the light bulb ever came on. Most people just happened into whatever it is they did. And of
Yep.
course, because you got to feed your family, you can't just up and
Right.
say, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
So you have to kind of hold on to something, because you have, again, we're in this vicious cycle of bill paying, which is ridiculous, but, inflation's crazy too. But we're in a space where, do we even have time to think about dreaming as adults? Is that even reasonable?
Right. And you know what I was thinking as I was listening to you speaking is, we both have this huge passion, and there's always talk about, like you just said, you mentioned about what is really your thing. I kind of want to take this moment for us, me and you together, kind of hash out what are some of the great things about just being a career professional development strategist, or a professional career coach, as you will, because this is an industry too that we do that can help facilitate and get younger people to see on a broader scale what the industries look like, and then they can teach younger people.
Hmm.
So, I'm gonna let you start off maybe giving out some really good, best practices. Why should a young person pursue the industry that we're in right now?
In terms of wanting to do actual career development, or
Uh-huh. To do
or
career development for other young folks, or just, because we talk about, people wanting to be different things because of their skill set. And
hmm
career development is one of those things where, you know, it ties back to the adult stops dreaming because the light bulb
Mhm.
didn't go off to teach others. So I kind of wanted to give people who are listening some really good advice from those who are doing it like ourselves to get them encouraged to want to be a career development specialist or somebody who would help with that.
So, I'm thinking specifically from a young person's perspective. I think as a young person, I don't think that they will be able to necessarily facilitate that, only because they have not had the experience and understanding that experiences bring. Like I shared before, I was just fortunate enough to know innately when I was young what I loved. Most people don't know that. And I think it takes a lot of people to realize what they don't like to realize what it is they like. So one thing, not just youth, because I think developmentally they're still not quite there. They're still trying to figure themselves out. So it's kind of hard for them to help other people figure out who they are when they're still trying to figure out who they are. So,
I think I was mentioning more of like, let's say that they got exposed to career development on a regular basis, and then maybe later on in life, like any other job, that they would
mhm,
decide to become a career specialist, if you will. I'm not saying like now as a teenager or anything like
okay.
that, because of course they wouldn't be able to do that. But I'm speaking of a future, a future job, just like any other job.
Well, I think that's fueled out of passion for self-development. I think it takes a person who really is self-actualized and aware to realize that they want other people to be self-actualized and aware. And that comes from being, of course, I think it takes a certain kind of person and a certain kind of passion to want to get into the field. One, and I was going to speak to, I think, when people first, well, those who go to college, think about those who go into college, or maybe in their mid-20s, they've had enough life experiences, or those who've been to college, and I've talked to, when I say young people, I'm talking about like 23, 24, 25, who are just leaving college, and they went to college because they were told they had to go. They were told by their parents that you have to major in this, but that was not their dream. So then they get out and they're doing something completely different that they love to do. However, if they had tapped into what they love to do and what they wanted to do and were bold enough to make the decision to do that, they could help other young people make those kind of decisions and say, look, I've experienced this. I've done 4 years, say, of whatever. I did 4 years of business school. I didn't want to go to college. My parents made me go to college. But now I'm come out and now I'm opening up my own bakery because I like to bake. Those are the type of people who can help other people realize the career piece to it. Say that, yes, even though your route may have been A, B, C, and D, I discovered that my passion and my purpose is this, and let me help you figure out what yours is, or show you just even if you went into an area that you like, that you enjoy, that you like, let me show you all the options that are available. Because in turn, what happens is when you look at career development, it really ties into your overall health and well-being. Mentally, physically, all spiritually, emotionally. Because the happier we are and more content we are, the more we are willing to give back to society and be more productive citizens. That's just what it is. So really, career development in helping you understand what you're best suited for, and not necessarily what you're going to be completely happy in, because no one's 100% happy in anything, but at least a form of career development will lead to overall well-being. So not saying health and wellness, but it kind of ties into that. Your emotional well-being is really based upon how happy and fulfilled you seem to be, which is really the premise behind career development. Career development is really finding what you do and what you love and turning it into something that's lucrative for you, no matter what that thing is.
Wow, that's definitely interesting the way you put that. I would say that from my perspective, if I had to encourage a young person or someone who's a first year college student to enter this line of work, would be to first develop where they are as far as career, because that's how I kind of landed into it. Just looking at what I need to do and what young people have to go through to get from point A to point B, and then take only that piece of information and share it with other young people so that they are aware of things that they need to do to prepare for a
Mm.
career. They may not have like all of the stuff that you're talking about in terms of the full development, the core. I think that's really kind of reserved to people who really want to get like knee deep in the stuff that you do and I do. But if I wanted to encourage someone to kind of start looking in that avenue, I would probably encourage them to really start looking at researching the job market, just doing little stuff like that that would, and make their vision aware. I'm trying to find the right word, Felicia. I'm
But
trying
I
to find
feel
the
you.
right
No, I know
word.
where you're going. No, I know
But
exactly where you're
but
going.
it's really just to say, hey, we have young people, because I'm gonna tell you where I reason why I asked that question, because I know that from volunteering with some of the organizations here in Maryland, they are going younger and younger when it comes to business development and career
Mm-hmm.
development. They are doing more presentations, they're doing more deep dive understanding, and a lot of them are catching on like wildfire.
Mm.
So for students that are not afforded those programs, this is when other young people can put together a career development type of program just for middle school, high school, and first year college students, to say, this is where you need to do to prepare to go to the next step. And this is
Mm-hmm.
how we experienced it when we tried to get jobs at 18 or 20 or 21 going to college. These are the things that you need to research and do and kind of develop it that way. And then as time go on, maybe one or two of those people will want to become a career development coach or something of that sort to help younger folks. And that's how I kind of was looking at it if I had to give advice. Because this career for me is eye opener. There's no way in the world I would have known any of the stuff that was going on if I had not fell into that. Just trying
Mm-hmm.
to get my own career in order and transition from one career, one industry to another, and try to promote myself and all that kind of stuff, is because I actually put myself in a position where it opened up all this information about different jobs and different industries. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I only knew this like years ago. But since, ever since I was younger, even when I was 14, I had a job. So I had a job since I was 14. So I was always tapping into, okay, what is my next step? Or where do I need to go? Or what do I need to get? And a lot of kids don't do that. They're not thinking that. They're thinking, I want to have
Mm-hmm.
fun. I want to have
Mm-hmm.
fun. I want to be whatever. And that's cool. You could be fun. I had fun. But I also, want students don't forget about the future. Like you said, next thing you know, 4 years, you're 18,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And even my sons was like, "Oh no, mom, I don't want to
Yep.
grow up." They were like,
Yep.
"Oh no, I do not want this to happen." And now here it is. You're 18 now. Now what do you
Yep.
do? And they're like, you know. So it's, I guess I just get excited about it, Felicia, because and especially when I'm talking to someone who do what I do, because I just have that passion, and like you said, I have that passion to do what this type of work. So if there's anybody out there who's sort of excited like us, listening to us, and want to get into career development, definitely do your due diligence and your research to see if it's the right fit for you. Because as we're talking about, you have to deal with so many different people on so many different levels, so many different mind frames,
Yep.
so many different life status, life,
Yeah.
and like Felicia said, sometimes you feel like a psychologist because you're dealing with the human psyche when it comes to their career and how they feel in the space they're in.
Yep.
So, Felicia, that was exciting. I'm gonna tell you, because I could go on and on
Yeah.
all day about that. So let me
Yeah.
ask you, you have two books out there, right?
I have two adult books for adults, and I also have my book that I created last year for young people.
Okay, let's talk about
Yeah.
your books. Let's go ahead and tell everybody about your books and what they're about.
Okay. So the two adult books that I have, the first one, which and it's not because it was one of my first babies, but love this book. It was an anthology. The name of the book was compiled by the book. I'm sorry. The book was compiled by LaShawn Renique. she came up with the concept, congratulations, you just lost your job. So the book is specifically about entrepreneurship. And there are several of us in the book who share our journey about entrepreneurship and how we got from, some have lost their jobs, some, up and quit, like my personal story. I tell people this all the time. I've been an entrepreneur in spirit since I was a teenager and in action over the last several years, in real action, rather. I've had all kinds of entrepreneur endeavors over the years, but the last several were really what I was purposed and passionate to do. So that's what my chapter in that particular book is about. But not only that, in that book, there are also some very valuable tools and resources, in addition to our story, tools and resources that help you move into the entrepreneurial realm. Love that book. Love it. That book came out, that was 2014, so it's been 4 years. And when I say love that book, even though I'm in it, I hate to toot my own horn, absolutely love it. The second book was another anthology, and that was Fabulous New Life, that was compiled by April Frank Hunt. And that book really is a myriad of different stories from different women on all different aspects of everything, from finances to motherhood to self-esteem to entrepreneurship to grief and loss and infidelity. I mean, the book it covers the gamut of almost everything you can think of woman-wise, if that's a word.
Wow.
If that's a word.
Okay.
If that's a word.
All right.
If that's a word. Maybe my own word,
Wow.
woman-wise, But it's our own personal story of overcoming triumph, tragedy, joy. It's a myriad of all different aspects of different women and their stories on life. And both of those are available on Amazon still. That was Fabulous New Life was 2015. And so my personal baby that I created through blood, sweat, and tears last year, it's a workbook, and it's called From Dreams to Reality, 21 Tips for Teens.
Nice.
And my 21 Tips book it's not a read. It is a workbook. It is a workbook in action for young people. And it's 21 tips that are specifically geared to what young people need to know before they turn 18 and hit the world. And it is an active workbook. There are tips in there anywhere on service learning, finding your passion and purpose, character development, surrounding yourself with the right people. That workbook is specifically for teens to help them work through conversations that a lot of adults have not had with them and things they need to know to be successful adults. And From Dreams to Reality is also on Amazon. Or people can get it through me either way. But that was my baby. And because what I found over the years working in education, especially being a school counselor. As a school counselor, we are tasked with so many things to do. It is not enough time in the day to do them all, number one. And number two, our caseload as school counselors the ratio is supposed to be 1 to 250. That's per ASCA, American School Counseling Association. That's the quote-unquote ideal ratio. However, most school counselors, depending on if you're elementary, middle, or high, have caseloads 300 and above. This year, I think I have like 335 students.
My goodness.
Yeah, I have 335. We have 800 plus in our building. And I have 330. And on average, since I've been a counselor, I've had about 350 students under my tutelage. And there's no way in the world I can give each of them individualized attention. Career, emotional, academic, social, that's all the things we're tasked to do with our babies that come to us every day. And so over the years, I looked at all the pieces that I've been talking to kids and seeing that they're things that, I've talked to them about, but I can't talk to I cannot talk to every individual child and cover all of those components. So that's why I really compiled my From Dreams to Reality workbook. It really is a compilation of all the things that teens need to know and need to have conversations about or need to think about, but adults may not necessarily have the time or the tools to have those conversations. But it's very self-reflective, and it's for them. It's for them to kind of work through for their own personal dreams.
Okay. All right. Fabulous. First of all, I applaud you for having all these books because, as anybody who listened to this podcast know, that I love tools. I love books that are tools that you can use to help better yourself and things like that. So, first of all, I really enjoy the fact that you said that you have a workbook that's just strictly to do work to figure out what you need to do as a teenager. There are so
Hmm.
many people out here that have teenagers, and like you said, we can't always say that parents are not teaching stuff. There's just so much in life that a lot of parents just don't get a chance to say. But if you're
Yep.
able to just put something, key things in a book where any kid can pick up and say, you know what, I think I can work through this book and it'll answer questions for them, that's a winner right there. That's definitely a
And
winner.
yeah, and it's very simple. And it's like, because I know kids don't like to read. I'm just going to be quite honest.
Oh, they
They
don't
don't
want
like a lot of reading. Right. They don't like a lot of reading. I know that for a fact. I deal with these things every day when I'm talking to them. I'm like, pick up a book. They're like, I don't like to read. Okay, well, let me make this very simple for you. You
Yeah.
know, each tip is only is only a page. So it's not like they're reading through pages and pages and pages and like, let me work it out. It's very simplistic, an easy read. It's very easy for them to understand and just to work through to just self-help piece for them to kind of get them to know who they are. And it really is all about them. This is their own personal workbook. They don't have to share it. They don't have to look at their friend and say, what was your answer? Because your answer is not going to be my answer. It really is about them.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any other events or things of that nature that you want people who are listening to this podcast to know that you're in so that they can come out, meet you, get to have you come out and speak maybe with to their students or their class or anything like that?
I am always available to do workshops. I'm booking through 2018. So any of my workshops, if anyone is interested in reaching out, or I've done panels, I've done forums. This Saturday, I have two events. Actually, one is not a private event, but it's through the Maryland Association of Student Councils. I'll be speaking to them. Another piece that I kind of got pulled into after doing another function a couple of weeks ago, sexual harassment now is a big topic. So I was asked to speak and do a forum on sexual harassment this Saturday. I also will be doing a short, very brief goal setting, not necessarily a workshop, but I'm part of another function that's happening on Saturday, and I will post that information on my social media feed if anyone's interested. This is not my function, but they are still looking for young people to participate. They actually have 3 dates for this. It's a dream board party, or vision board party for young people 10 to 14, and they have 3 different dates in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. So I'll post that on my social media site too. So if you want to follow me, my social media on Facebook, I am at Felicia, Felicia Meadows. If you pull me up, it'll say Step Up Your Life in parentheses. Facebook was going through a phase when they were making everybody prove who they were, so they made me take my moniker out of my name. So it's now in parentheses on my Facebook page. I am on Twitter at Felicia G. Meadows. You can find me at LinkedIn, Felicia Meadows, or email Felicia, Felicia, dot stepupyourlife at gmail.com. So any of those ways are acceptable to reach me. Shoot me a messenger, send me an email. I respond very quickly to all of my emails and all of my messages because I try to be one and try to get right back to people within a reasonable amount of time. So I think I covered everything. Oh,
Yeah.
and all three of my books are available on Amazon. Yeah.
That's right. And
Mm-hmm.
just a reminder, I know she gave all those tidbits of where you can contact her, but don't forget that her contact information and everything she just said will be located at the bottom of her page here at the BMWOC website. Also, don't forget to reach out to this community and tap into the resources that is being presented because you can't get this anywhere else. She is available to come to your school, to speak, to do counseling, workshops. So am I. We both just love what we do. And again, just to summarize, that career development is needed all of the time. It is a life learning type of strategy that helps you do your career from the beginning to the end, in the middle, wherever you're at. it doesn't matter. Even if you're coming back from the workforce after retirement, everyone can benefit from a
Yeah.
career development session. So I encourage you to find a mentor, find a counseling session. If you want to tap with Felicia Meadows, if you want to tap with me to do some of this stuff to help you with your career, this is the time to do it. So, Felicia, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with everybody, and letting everybody know the importance of career development and just being an educator and stepping up and supporting the kids. I really appreciate you coming on here and showing everybody that's what it's all about.
I appreciate you having me. I really enjoyed the podcast. Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it.
Oh.